Hello and welcome to the Philippines. I've got some travel news, new travel news, and if you have a girlfriend, if you're engaged, that may be especially good news. Just got an alert on my phone about an earthquake that happened up in Mindoro area, between just south of Batangas in Luzon. Got some information about that, and I've got a bunch of other news to go over as well that goes across several subjects. So let's get right into it here. Now, the IATF, the agency in charge of all this virus issues and coming up with all the regulations, they've got a task force has ordered a technical working group to review the travel ban on foreigners, as some Filipinos are urging the administration to allow their foreign partners to enter the country. Now, let me skip down to the more important part. People who are already married are able to, with the proper visa, are allowed to come into the country. But here we go down the last paragraph. But there have been calls for the government to exempt foreigners who have Filipino partners, especially those whose weddings have been delayed because of pandemic related restrictions. And over to the next page here, and I've got a lot of people commenting about that. I'm separated from my fiance. We were going to get married in June, and anyway, I've also on the Bureau of Immigration's website. There are many people pleading. Love is not tourism. We're separated from our family. We were going to get married. Please let us travel. And you can read the full paragraphs there, but skip down to the third paragraph there. Last July, even, Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Loskin Jr. ordered the agency's legal office to find ways for fiancés of Filipinos to enter the Philippines and to find all ways to get around the ban so the couples can get married. With regard to the reopening of tourism to foreigners, the easing of protocol should be done gradually. So we're still working on that. Maybe it's time to get engaged if you've been getting real close to that decision. Anyway, good news. Secondly, at the Mactan International Airport, they are consolidating Terminal One, Terminal Two. Terminal Two being the international terminal, and they're going to move a lot of the organization over to Terminal One to make better use of space. They will still be having arriving international flights at Terminal 2, is what the article says. So you may see some changes there if you are flying. And this will take place November 1st. So here we are in October. November 1st. It means if you're going to fly out internationally from Cebu Mactan Airport, you would go to Terminal 1 and not to Terminal 2. If you're flying in, your international flight at this point in time will fly in and you will go through Terminal 2 and do your testing there. Now, a quick note before I get into the earthquake news and the other news that I want to cover. One of my last videos and some of my last videos, not often, but I comment on the medical situation. I bring up certain information. I've been following the medical sites and medical discussions and data sites for 7-8 months since the thing started. And I have almost no interest in politics, and I've been accused of being right wing. I've been accused of being left wing, and the fact of the matter is, I don't have much time for politics. I don't care about the politics. Shame on the people who are using politics during this crisis. There is data out there. There's a lot of good, very good. In fact, I'll put some. I'll put a link to some of that data, some of the sites that you can investigate. A lot of good information, a lot of encouraging news about the present medical crisis. And people accuse me of being political about that. Please be civil, not only to me, but to fellow commenters. When you start calling people names, those types of things, you pretty much lose your argument. It doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. All right, jumping over here for earthquakes, EMSC.com. It's a European operation, and these are worldwide earthquakes over 4 point on the Richter scale, and they're color coded up here. And in the last 24 hours, I have a number of earthquake and volcano alert apps on my phone, and I got an alert just a bit ago, and here's the Philippines, 5.6. So let's click on that and see where it should bring us up some more. There we go. Last Quake is an app I use on the phone. You can get that too. There's another one called Volcanoes and Earthquakes that I use. Anyway, Mindoro, and it's interesting. I had somebody mention to me that they were either going to that area or they had friends in that area. Anyway, I'd mentioned today or yesterday that a couple of years ago there was a swarm over the matter of a couple of weeks or months. There were swarms of earthquakes in that area just off of Batangas, down there between Batangas and Mindoro. And anyway, 146 kilometers deep. More information, USGS. We'll see what happens there, all the way over in Denver. See if I can key into that area. It's up by the Manila area. So this is Manila area up here, metropolitan area, and you got Mindoro down here, Batangas, and yeah, within the last couple of years they had a swarm where every day or a few days they would have earthquakes either in Batangas or between this area here. Now back to much more news. I don't have any damage reports up in that area yet. I just got the report. I'm not sure if there's damage or not. Anyway, get on to more news. 97 held. About once a week or so I read an article like this someplace. The bars are raided. Somebody turns in the people. It's hard to have a party and keep it a secret. Somebody calls the police. They're drinking and they're not social distancing. Might be in a club or bar, or sometimes out in the open, out in public as well. Now I know there are some bars that in some areas there are bars that have opened as restaurants. Even in Thailand, I've read that, and perhaps maybe they sell a little beer or not. I'm not sure. Now this next story has to do with not admitting a pregnant Filipino lady to a hospital because she didn't have money to make a deposit. And so a charge against doctor and nurses for violating the anti-hospital deposit law. Under the law, hospitals are prohibited from refusing and demanding down payment from patients. Medical practitioners face penalties up to 2 years in prison, fine up to 300,000 if convicted. And medical officials face a heftier sentence. Of the 6 hospitals that refused this pregnant lady due to lack of rooms and blood supply, the FEU Hospital and Grace General Hospital failed to justify turning the patient away. And so some hospitals had no room, but these other hospitals, 2 hospitals, gave no good reason. And the lady ended up bleeding to death. She was declared dead. Somebody brought her to the medical facility. She was the only one that didn't turn her away. She was in obviously very bad shape. Now this next story may affect many of you. This is the huge Cinelog Festival in Cebu City, and it goes from the second and third week in January. Basically, it culminates on the third Sunday of January every year. I've been to I think 4 of them, and wild crowds, and they've changed over the years. They've got more restrictive, and like bars not being able to be open along the parade routes, those types of things. They've made more restrictions anyway. Not the same as it was a few years ago. But anyway, it may be a virtual parade. They've got a committee studying all that, so you may not be able to go out, and just depends upon what happens with the certain medical situation that we're involved in right now. This next story is affecting millions and millions of Filipino families, as well as some of you out there, I suspect. Parents are not prepared to be homeschooling children, and a lot of these huge families, and they're not trained as teachers, or not trained in the various subjects, and the schools are not open, but they're opening virtual classrooms. Basically, they're a number of ways they're using the internet, and there again they've give notice to a number of the internet stores that have kids coming in trying to do lessons, and they aren't social distancing. Well, they don't have the space. If you've ever seen these little internet shops, they've got computers lined up and seats lined up, and people that need to get to them to do their online studies. Anyway, it's basically write the year off as far as education, practical sense. Some schools have gone to modules where somebody in the family goes and picks up the basically printed material, brings it home. The student supposedly does that work and turns it in at the end of the week. Apparently, somebody takes it back to the school. The teachers are also having trouble because they've never taught this way before, so they don't have that interaction. Students can text back and forth with the teacher in some cases. Now, this next story really has a place in my heart. Many of you know that I don't like noise. And not only that, in many years in the USA, I had a noise control company, and that was my specialty. Noise control. Never liked noise. And we all tolerate noise differently. Anyway, the PNP, the Philippine National Police, wants barangay ordinances, barangay is the small village within towns and cities and provinces. Wants the barangay to each set their own noise rules. Well, my suggestion is do what most countries do, is have a national policy about noise. You can search Australia, New Zealand, the US, Canada, all the European countries. I'm sure Japan, Korea, other Asian nations as well. They've already done a lot of the work about noise ordinances, how much noise you can make on your property, how much noise is allowed to go past your property line, and how much noise can you make in the daytime, how much noise can you make in the evening. And there's lots of different all the research, all the rules, the laws have been written. Just go in and start copying those, and don't let your barangays do it, because you'll have a major mess with nobody coordinating with each other. You'll have a million different rules. I have two videos on my channel about noise control, and they are titled Got Noise, G-O-T noise, and they go into various ways to reduce noise. This next story is about the BRT, the Cebu Bus Rapid Transit System, and there's for 5 years I've been reading different stories. It's on again, it's off again. There's an argument about should they use buses, should they use rail, and anyway, they were funded by the World Bank, took out a loan for 16.5 billion pesos. It's supposed to be operational by June 2021, less than a year away, and virtually nothing has been done on the project. They've had some plans. The article says they've spent 7 billion, but the project hasn't started. No excavation has been done on the project, and so I'm really not sure. I've read different conflicting reports about it. There are some lawmakers who think they should seriously rethink the project in the first place. So But I know that we are getting more buses. Uh, they're talking about letting 1,000 of the barangays. They used to have 1,000 of the old jeepneys to run. They used to have over 5,000, 5 to 6,000 jeepneys. Now they're talking about possibly allowing 1,000 of those to operate. Now, as far as the quarantine situation for the virus, varies by area. Most areas are under a modified general quarantine, which allows more businesses to open, restaurants to have like 50% occupancy. Some companies like massage. I read an article a couple weeks ago that they were allowed, and then I read an article they're not allowed, but still not sure if any dentists are open. Anyway, here in Cebu City, Mayor LaBella still has a do not go outdoor order for senior citizens over 60 and under 21. The vice mayor, Rama, disagrees with that. He says you should liberate the senior citizens. You've got all these politicians who are over 60 going out each and every day. Age is a factor, but much more than that is your health. If you're a healthy person, very unlikely that you're going to have a severe case of this and or die from this. The comorbidities, your other illnesses, your diabetes, your high blood pressure, a number of other things, heart, lung issues, are the major issue there. If you're healthy and old, it's not nearly the issue that it is even younger people who have the comorbidities are more apt to have some issues with it. We have a couple of volcanoes that are under watch as the rainy season has been here for a while. But anyway, we on again, off again, we get some pretty heavy rains. They've got some activity at these volcanoes. Canaleon volcano, I haven't heard very much about that recently. I think that is still putting out a little bit of. I think they've had some earthquake activity there, as well as the Taal volcano up by Batangas area. I am working on a number of other videos, including a one about real estate. I've been searching many sites and listening to many discussions about that. So here in the coming week, I'll have a video up about real estate. Anyway, thank you for watching. I will end this with that, and stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.